Folks, welcome to Talking Crit. I am half of your host, Eric Stina, otherwise known as Tenkar, not at Gary Con, not at
Oh,
Gary Con.
oh.
And with me is none other than Bad Mike Battalato
Mm-hmm.
at Gary Con at the Frog God Villa. Frog God
Yes,
has a villa.
at the villa,
He's at the
and
villa.
so this is the first. I haven't been back since 2019, which was pre-COVID.
Yep.
Haven't been now, as most of us remember. They canceled 2020. They canceled 2021, and so the first post-COVID was, I believe, 2023. Yeah, yeah, it was 2023.
2022.
No,
2020.
2022. 2022. And so I have not been back since 2019. So I'm interested in seeing what's going to happen because it is, it's really crowded and there's a lot of people here and it's become a star-studded affair with guys like Vince Vaughn and Joe Manganiello and all these stars heading here. So I don't know. It's going to be different. It's going to be a lot different than the last time I came. But if you're at Gary Con, you're watching this, I will be working the Frog God booth in the vendor hall, which I have not been to the new vendor hall yet. So I'm interested in that. But right now, I'm at the Frog God Villa because Bill Webb and Zach Glazer Company have rented a villa here, and so we're not staying exactly in the Grand. We're staying across the street, and it's pretty nice here, man. This is a three-bedroom, three-bathroom villa with
Ooh.
kitchen, whatever. You know what? I'm gonna walk us over there like I did earlier. I
Bum,
want
bum,
you guys.
bum.
Yep, you guys are gonna see what it looks like. Hold on. All right. Oh, look, Zach and Jen's bedroom. That's where I'm at right now.
Motion sickness warning for
Yeah,
anybody
yeah,
who.
yeah. No kidding. So here's the hall. Now here's what we got down here. Oh my gosh! Look at these luminaries. Look at these luminaries here.
Luminary.
We got Bill Sylvie down there. There's Bill Webb. We got Zach. We got Ty Beard. We got Michael Potter. There's Larry. Oh yeah, we're loaded tonight. So you can see how big it is. There's a kitchen over there that I can't really get to, but so Bill's running all his games here. So it's
Okay.
it's very convenient. I'm sorry for all you motions. Everybody has motion sickness. I'm sorry about that. But
Oh, we have a Kurt Gould in the audience tonight. Kurt,
Kurt,
welcome.
good to see you, man.
Yeah.
I talked to him not that long ago, but long time no see.
Yes.
Anyway, so yeah, it's great here because you've never seen a liquor cabinet till you've seen this liquor cabinet because everybody that comes, they've been gifting Bill with a bottle of whiskey.
Oh,
Bill,
Jesus.
I might not, Eric, I might not leave this villa.
What are you going to do? Sleep on the floor?
There's a couch down there. I mean, there's a lot of whiskey here. Oh, there's Gary. Hey, Gary. There's Bob. How you guys doing? Oh, Ty. Oh, Ty popped in earlier. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's great. It's great. I'm very excited about. A lot of these guys I see at Game Hole, and we see them at North Texas, and various other cons. But there's some people that only go to Gary Con. That you only because they live in the area, so we only see them there. Hey Mike, the David Dodge novel you recommended me. There was a Glenn Ford movie made for. There was. You're right, Ty. I saw that later, and I now want to see the movie. I don't know if you've read the book. Was actually pretty good. The book was good. So this is all inside. This is so inside that nobody even knows what we're talking about. But
Oh, I guess something to save for Glenn.
so anyway, it's gonna be fun, and probably next week I'll be home, and we'll talk about a little post Gen Con or Gary Con if I have any cool gossip or stories. I'll let you guys know. I'm hoping to see a few people that don't show up that I haven't seen in a few years, like Jeff Grubb, our buddy Jeff Grubb, who we haven't seen since like
Right?
2008, 18 or so. Errol has not been to North Texas post con or post COVID, so I hope to see him here. But yeah, it's gonna be great. Now, one person, unfortunately, I'm not going to see here that I was actually planning on seeing and having him sign some items is Jim Ward, and we got the horrible news this week that
Oh God, yes.
after a long illness, diabetes related, James Ward finally passed away on Monday. Very sad day for a lot of us, and Eric and I say this all the time, and you guys need to listen to us. You need to see these guys while they're up and around because you never know when they're going to be taken away, like Janelle was from us last year. The Janelle's loss was a very personal one to me. I was, because it was so sudden, right? It
Right.
just one day she's fine, next day she's sick, and then a few
Well,
months later,
yeah. Well, let's say one day she was fine, next thing she passed. No, with Janelle, you're right. One day she was fine, then she was sick, and when she got sick, it was
it was
there was no
awful.
coming back.
But with James, so James had his first heart attack the year, I want to say the second year of North Texas, so probably 2010. He was not able to come that year. We had scheduled him to come, and he wasn't able to come because he had a heart attack. And that's when they started doing. They said, "Look, you're really sick. You have diabetes." And as Jim would say all the time on his soapbox on his Facebook page, he would drink Dr Pepper every day, all day long, and he would eat ice cream at night. And even though he knew he was diabetic, so after a while it caught up with him. He got sick. He attended cons after that. He went to probably about 4 or 5 North Texases. I remember the fourth con. He went to year 3. Went to year 4. I mean, year 4 was great because he actually sat behind my booth with me, helped me take money, and talked to me and signed all my stuff. It was awesome. It was like, like, oh my gosh, I'm sitting next to Jim Ward and he's telling me stories and he's signing all my Metamorphosis Alpha copies and all this stuff. It was great. He was a super nice guy. I mean, you met him too, right? I mean, you met him and
I
talked
met
to him.
I met him. I think I met him at North Texas. I forget which one it was. The thing is, I didn't know him to approach him, and he always had somebody with him. And when I say he always had somebody with him, Jim was so approachable that there was always somebody talking with him, and he was, I believe, in a wheelchair the
Yeah,
last
right.
time I saw him.
Yeah. We ended up having to get cards for some of the guys. Tim Kask had one because it was really tough for them to get around. But the last year Jim was at North Texas, he had to have a mobile cart because he was.
I remember that. Yes.
And then by the time he lost his foot and his leg, of course he at that point he only attended um, Gary Con because it's real Elk, what city is it from? Elk something. It's real close. It's like 7 miles away. So he would have somebody, one of his sons or somebody would drive him over. But I was just talking to everybody downstairs because we were talking about some memories of James, and I'll tell a couple of stories about him. But as you know, for those of you who don't know, I don't know anybody that wouldn't know, but he was the author of Metamorphosis Alpha, which is for a lot of people is regarded as the first science fiction role playing game. He also co-authored Deities and Demigods with Rob Kuntz, and that was a very seminal work also because that was the first time they really sat and said, "Hey, we're going to do the gods," and to either their regret or their whatever, he actually standed up the gods. so, so how many times Eric Chip listened to a story about, man, I killed Thor the other
Oh
day.
my God. They got snatched and then to
Oh,
get killed. That's what I'm telling you. Trust
yeah.
me. It's what it says in the book.
I got his hammer and everything because I killed Thor, and
Oh God.
he would always say afterwards that he always regretted standing him up because that just gave people the impetus to try to attack him. But he worked for TSR quite a while. He was part of the design team. He was the head of the design team that did second edition. He was Zeb Cook and Steve Winter's boss on that, and I think John Pickens. He was their boss.
Well, he also did
So
Gamma World, right? I mean, Gamma
yeah,
World was.
he did some work at Gamma World. That was not Kim is who did Gamma World? I can't remember. But yes, he did. He didn't do Gamma World by himself, but yes, he was a contributor to Gamma World,
Okay.
which if you look at the rules for Gamma World, Metamorph Alpha, they're very close. Like they both have the mechanic where, if you learn something, you have to go through the little tree and
Right.
figure. I mean, you know,
I learned about those charts in science class in
right.
high school. Never used them again. But
But
yeah, I know what you're
you
talking
can
about.
go back and forth. It's very easy to go back and forth in that game and Gamma World and Metamorphosis Alpha. Metamorphosis Alpha, he used to say he got the idea from various science fiction books. One of them was Orphans of Space. I can't remember. It's by Heinlein. But if you look into the history, there's 2 or 3 books about people that come from an advanced civilization that end up on what they call a generation ship. And I think one of them was called. Oh, why am I forgetting this, Eric? Orphans. Let me look it up. It's a Heinlein novel. I think it's Heinlein.
I don't know, but
Uh,
Jeff, welcome, Jeff.
Orphans of the Sky. Orphans of the Sky. That was one of his influences. There's a couple other influences, science fiction books, but it was a great idea. It was a cool idea where you have this ship that's a generation ship, and bad things have happened to it, and now it's been hundreds of years. It's been floating through space. There's all this crazy stuff going on, and it's just a really cool concept. And he owned the concept, so he published it like he licensed it out like what 4 or 5 times.
Oh, at
I mean,
least
yeah, yeah.
I think 77 Worlds or is the last publisher, or a company that published 77 Worlds is the last publisher or the latest publisher. I have at least 3 versions of Metamorphosis Alpha. I've never run it, but I've always been enthralled by the setting, the concept. It's just so there's so much you can do with it. It
Right.
it literally writes itself when it comes to running an adventure. I just never when I bought my copies, I didn't have an active gaming group, and now that I do, we got such a plethora of things to play. I don't think I can pull Metamorphosis Alpha out for longer than a session. But
I'll say the other book. I looked up the wiki page. Brian Aldiss's book Nonstop, which is also called Starship. I actually read that. That's actually pretty cool. That's another generation ship kind of book. But yeah, Orphans of the Sky is very close to really Metamorphosis Alpha. But yeah. The thing was, he owned the rights to it. It was published by TSR, but he owned it. He didn't sell the rights, so he was able
okay,
to keep licensing it through the years. And like you said, he had about 5 editions. And I
yeah.
think the last one was you read 77 Worlds, but he did one with Goodman Games too. They did a
Oh
they,
shoot, I have that
yeah.
too. Oh,
Yeah, it's
God,
a big giant
yep.
the big giant book. Which if I was at home, I could grab it, but I'm
It's a
here obviously
coffee
at
table
Jericho.
book, essentially.
Yeah,
It's
and they did the city Epsilon City, but it was really they did a really good. Goodman Games does really good jobs with their big giant coffee
yep.
table kind of books and stuff. So they did a really good job with it. And
Harry,
yeah, and
thank
so
you. Yes, Gamma World, James M. Ward, and Gary
Gary
Jacquet.
Jaquet, I couldn't remember his name. Thank you, Terry. But yeah, it was so. I mean, although he's known for that, he worked at TSR. He did a lot of things. He did Ruins of Adventure. He co that was the gamization of the Pool of Radiance
Yep.
computer game. He did that. He wrote novels. He did several novels for TSR. I mean, one thing he's really known for is the Endless Quest books. He did quite a few Endless Quest books. He loved Endless Quest books. He so when Doug and I used to invite him to the convention, one of the things was Doug would publish stuff by these guys like Tim Kask and Jim, and then give him half of whatever we made from it. And he offered Doug. He said, "I've got all these endless quest novels that if but we decided that's probably not that's not really something we're into." So he did one of the digests he did give us to publish was a choose your own adventure type digest. So, but he had that down to a science, the choose your own adventure style. He would write those, and he was very good at that. And he worked at TSR through Gary's firing, and then afterwards, and he did a lot. He's the brains behind Dragon Dice. That was his baby was Dragon Dice.
And
Um,
Spellfire too, right?
I
He was
yeah.
involved in Spellfire. Listen. I was looking at the Wikipedia page, and they didn't make a mention of Dragon Dice, but I can see that. But he pitched, uh, the Spellfire game. Now I heard from somebody on Discord that apparently he tried to get Lorraine to buy out Wizards of the Coast when when Magic was in its infancy, before it became the hit that it was,
Right.
and she passed. She'd rather develop her own
Oops.
response,
Oh dear. Oh
which was
dear. Oh dear.
Spellfire, which I owned Spellfire. I don't have any of those cards left. I don't think.
Now,
But
one of the adventures he wrote for Dragon Magazine was the Mansion of Mad Professor Ludlow, and he would run that at conventions a lot. That was it's a role playing adventure where you're Boy Scouts and you're going into a haunted house, and there's like 3 or 4 levels of haunted house. You get to pick whatever items you bring in, but they have to be something a Boy Scout would have. So you can't bring a 50 caliber machine gun, I mean stuff like that. And yeah, he's a super nice guy, very creative guy. He was fired from TSR in '96. His story was that he refused to fire. Lorraine wanted to fire half the editors, and she gave him the job of firing him, and he said no. And so guess who got fired was Jim. He worked for he did a lot of work for Troll Lord Games after that.
Yep.
And he also did Fast Forward Entertainment, which sadly, as Eric and I have mentioned, the quality of FFE was not great, shall we say?
It was
Fast,
here's the thing. The FFE stuff was inconsistent, and if it was stuff that was merely in PDF and available for a buck or two, people probably wouldn't complain. But when you got a single magic item, which I know I did in one of the, I bought a lot of this. I bought when I say a lot, not just a lot of it, a lot, a box collection.
you got a good deal. It was really
I
cheap,
got a good
right? It was
deal. It
yeah.
was like $2 a book, and I overpaid. But one of them was like a magic item, was like 34 pages of a hardcover book. So it was. I understood where, in retrospect, you understand what they were looking to do. And I think that we would have, as a community, if it was a PDF today, we would have looked at the stuff differently because you go, oh, all right, yeah, 32 page magic item for like a buck or two. All right,
Yeah.
fine, or even five, but not when you're paying for physical product. But some of the stuff in there was good, but a lot of it just seemed, and he
Yeah.
was, I don't think he was writing the material. I think he was just
No,
publishing
he
the
was
work.
publishing, I believe, but it was very. It was during the 3E glut, really, I guess they call it, when just everybody said, "Hey, there's an OGL now. I can publish my own work at 3E."
Yes.
And some of that stuff was really bad. I mean, a lot of it was published really quickly because they wanted to hit it. Because the first things that were published sold really well, and so everybody
Oh,
tried to get in on it.
back when you had the D20 license. So
Yeah,
you put
yeah.
that D20 license on your book, and
Hmm.
there was some sort of perception that this was like the WotC seal of approval, which is
Yeah.
why that got revoked pretty quickly because it was getting put on stuff.
Yes.
WotC was like, whoa.
What was it? The Book of Erotic Fantasy? Yes, that was
Yeah.
it. But
Oh,
so I've got a lot of little stories about Jim as it relates to North Texas. If I can tell them, if you don't
yeah.
mind. So
Definitely.
he didn't come. So he was invited to our second con. He didn't come because of a heart attack, but he was there the next year. Now our first few years, Rob Kuntz came to our con, and Rob Kuntz was kind of a prickly dude. So he and Jim had gotten to a big fight over Deities and Demigods. If you notice, they're both credited on the cover by Rob Kuntz and Jim Ward. And the story was, as I heard it, that both of them said the other one didn't do anything and they did all the work. And so they did not speak for 30. They didn't speak for 30 years because they had a falling out because Gary basically didn't want to hear it from either of them. He said it's going to have both your names on the cover. I don't know what the story is. I don't know who did all the work, but you both we're going to put both your names on the cover. And so I heard that they both had a falling out over that and never spoke. So they both were at our third con because Jim came there and I asked Rob and I said, "Are we going to have any problems with you and Jim at the con?" He said, "I don't have any problems with him." And I asked Jim and he said the same thing. He goes, "I don't have a problem with Rob, whatever." And sure enough, Jim came and he said, "Hi, Rob, how you doing?" And Rob said, "Hey, Jim," and they shook hands and they talked for about a few minutes and they left. And then Frank Metzer came up to me and goes, "That's the first time Rob and Jim have spoken in 30 years." It's like, wow. So that was kind of cool. So we got to see that moment where they finally, bygones are bygones. But it was 30 years ago. Come on, man, you guys need to get past this. And they just, they said hi, and that was it. And then, okay, I was like, cool. I was like, that's kind of a historic moment. That was awesome. But he would come to the con. He ran, he would run obviously Metamorphosis Alpha. He would run Gamma World. He'd run some. He would run Mansion of Mad Professor Ludlow. He just run some of his own stuff. When he did work with Eldritch Enterprises, remember there was Eldritch Enterprises, which was he, Frank Menster, Tim Kask, and Chris Clark. He did kind of a sci-fi setting called not Dark Planet, Dark Galaxy. I can't remember, but there was he sped up a spaceship, and there was different a space station, abandoned space station. So that was kind of what he did for Eldritch Enterprises. He would do these settings, these generic sci-fi settings that could be used with any generic sci-fi game. And if you played one of his games, it was like the rules were kind of like whatever Jim decided at the time, right? You know, that you didn't have a rule book in hand and go, Mr. Ward, I'm afraid you didn't know. That's not how it went. No, this was seat of the pants flyby. You're probably gonna die. Good chance you're gonna die. But if you did, Jim always did it with panache. You know, he always had style to his killing the whole party. He would tear up your sheets sometimes, which I always thought was funny. He would ask for your sheet and then do the tear up thing. So I have a picture of my card getting torn up by Jim Ward, which I told him to pose for. But yeah, just he's people's memories of him. They somebody who talked about him online said they never heard him raise his voice. I think it was Tim Kask. Tim Kask posted he never heard him raise his voice. He never heard him get mad about anything. He was always very calm, soft spoken, great storyteller. One of the best memories I have of Jim is gosh, many years ago, Doug was still with us, Doug Ray. He heard that Jim had been an invited guest to Rose City Comic Con. Now, Rose City's in Tyler, Texas, about an hour and a half east of here, east of DFW. And he said, "Hey, let's go see Jim. Jim's going to be at Rose City, Comic Con. It was their first one. It was their first con they ever had. I was like,
Right.
cool." And so, yeah, let's do it. So Zach flew into town. My brother Robert and I. So my brother Robert, myself, Zach, and Doug got in the car and we headed east. And so we get there, and there's this big banner. And it says, so what this con did was, first of all, this con was way overbooked. It was like a regular hotel, Eric, with like 3 times as many people should have been in the hotel. I mean, I'm surprised that the fire department didn't shut it down. It was that crowded there. There
So
was a
they,
big
they
sign.
would just, they were like, well, look, give us the money. Just give us the
Give
money.
us the money. It was all about making money. And so they had not researched some of their guests very well. And I think they just wanted an RPG guest because they had a
Right.
comic guest. They had one of the Doctor Who's was there. I think Colin Davidson, one of the Doctor Who's. But we walked into the banner. It says, and our guest for RPG, Jim Ward, co-creator of Dungeons and Dragons. Oh God, there she is. It's a Jen sighting. It's a Jen sighting.
No giveaways.
What now?
We're doing giveaways.
Oh, we're doing no giveaways. No giveaways today. Sorry. But yeah, so I don't think they researched Jim well enough. They put him. I said, Jim, did you tell him you're not a co-creator of D&D? He goes, yeah, whatever. He didn't care. He's like, I don't know. And so I'm like, okay, well, So people that were there thought they were meeting Jim Ward, co-creator of D&D, not Jim Ward, creator of Metamorphosis Alpha, and many other books. I mean, there's lots of stuff he could have, So that was kind of fun. That was funny. But when he came, so he was running games there. And we said, okay, well, let's go check out his table because he was supposed to run a game the next day. We go there and we're talking this room. This convention was 3 times overbooked. It was like 3 times as many people. When you walk through the dealer room, Eric, you had to walk like this single file past tables. That's how crowded it was. It was bad. You couldn't stop looking at a table because you held up the whole line behind you. That's how packed it was. So we go to the game room and there's this one table and it's surrounded by tables and it must be 100 degrees in there. And it was loud, and Doug looked at it and said, Jim's not playing in here. Jim is not going to run a game here. Because by that time, Jim had a cane and was walking. Right. So he went to the front desk. He said, do you have any boardrooms? He said, yeah, we got that boardroom there. It was overlooking the lobby. It was this awesome boardroom. Doug's like, how much? I don't know, whatever, $100 a day. Doug said, okay, that's ours. We got it. So he's in the boardroom, and we switched the sign that said, Metamorphosis Alpha now being run in boardroom 1A or whatever. And we go up there, and it's got a mini fridge and a bathroom and this giant table, and like, whoa. So we're sitting there. We have Jim Ward as our personal DM and our own personal boardroom. And we would pause and go to the window and look out at the mass of humanity just crammed in there and be like Marie Antoinette waving to the peasants. But Jim ran his games up there, and it was great. We had a great time. I got to play in his game. Zach played, Doug played, my brother played. So his deal with that con was that he had these Spellfire cards with his picture on it. And, and I still have mine. And Zach, so the deal was he felt bad that when he would run games, everybody would die because he always said that he didn't kill you, you killed yourself. You did something stupid and killed yourself, which in a lot of cases was very true. Very, very true. You know, hey, what's this
Right.
little shiny button here that says push me? Okay, a 10-ton block comes and destroys you. You killed yourself. You know, it's just you're just stupid. So he would, do something like that. Like there's this one chamber, there's a red flashing light. Oh, I push the button. Okay, it opens up. There's radiation inside. Roll. Oh, you're dead. So if you stayed alive for 3 hours in this game, you got a signed Spellfire card with his picture on it. So I'm like,
Okay.
I want that card. I'm sitting there going, I want that card. And Zach is like, I want that card. So we go in there and we have to pick our character. I picked this medic, and all I was there to do was to heal people, and I had a pistol. So I was not going to get in fights because I know how Jim is, and fights or he would just kill you. In Jim's game, you don't get into conflict. You avoid conflict. You avoid weird shit. You just run away. You hide. Whatever. You don't get into fights in Jim's game. So I was the medic, and I would just heal people. And so we go along, and the guy dies here, guy dies. My brother died in a conveyor belt. He did something stupid, like stuck his hand in a conveyor belt. I don't know, whatever. So here we are, almost 3 hours later. It's me, Zach, and Doug, and we're the last three alive. And I'm like, man, I really want that card. And it's like 15 minutes till 3 hours. And so I told Zach, I said, follow my lead here. And I go, you know what, Jim? What was it like when you ran Metamorphosis Alpha for Gary and them? Could you tell us a couple of stories about that? He's like, oh, yeah, yeah. And so he's telling us about this game he ran for Gary and Ernie and this and that. We're like, oh, yeah. And so we're asking for more details. Could you tell us? And like Doug starts playing along too. Like, yeah, this and that. We get him talking for about 20 minutes. And then I go, oh, by the way, Jim, that's 3 hours. We need our cards. He just looked at me like,
That
you
game.
got, you got me, you got me. And so he signed all three of our cards, and we all got a card. Oh, and I forgot the best part was I was a medic, and he kept teasing me the entire adventure, going, how come the Space Marine medic's not getting into combat? You're not doing. I said, I'm a medic. I got a pistol, and I am. And so he was trying to get me killed. I
Yes.
guarantee you that old man was trying to get me killed because he kept trying to shame me into getting into combat, and everybody in that game that got into combat died. Only, only Doug, me, and Zach were smart enough to like hang back and let everybody else die. And so we got our signed cards. And of course, it kills us 5 minutes later because Doug walks in the room and there's a jar with some cloudy things in there. And Doug opens it up, and of course, radiation flies out and we all die. So I think at that point he was mad and wanted to kill us all because we got the card, but no. And so then we took him to dinner. It was great. We had a dinner with him, but it was a great weekend. One of the best gaming weekends of my entire life. We saw a seminar that he put on with Mike Stewart. Mike and Liz Stewart were there, and he and Mike did a seminar about copyright and just publishing your own game. And it was a James Ward intensive weekend. We got to hang out with Jim, play a game with him, have dinner with him. It was really fun. It was really really nice. It was like he was our personal because he was at a convention where a lot of people didn't know who he was. So it was like he was our personal special guest that we just kind of, hey, we're going to get you a room and you're going to run games for us up in this room. And, so basically they paid for Jim to come to the con, but we got to use him the whole time. And it was great. We had a great time. That's a very, very important memory for me because obviously Doug's gone now too.
Right.
That was but that was one of the weekends where Doug's generosity shone through because, like I said, he was not going to have Jim Ward play in that crowded, loud, noisy, cramped up room. There was no way Doug was going to allow that, and I just and he just spent the money to have him do a private room, but. Everybody that was there remembers it. Robert remembers it. Zach remembers it. Zach and I still have our cards. I don't know where Doug's card is. We have to figure that out. But we still have our cards. Mine's up on the wall. I think Zach's is too, because that was our personal accomplishment: surviving 3 hours in a Jim Ward Metamorphosis Alpha game. So anyway,
Wow.
that's one of my. And then Gary has a great Jim Ward story that Gary can hear. So Gary and Doug drove to Wisconsin one weekend with Matt Gullett and Eddie Bartlett, the guys that run Long Con. They also went
Right.
with a couple other guys. I can't remember exactly who went, and they all drove up there, and they got to play in a Metamorphosis Alpha game with Jim running the game, and Ernie Gygax was in the game too. And Gary was in that game, and It sounds like they had a blast. There's lots of pictures of that, but apparently, according to Jim, that was the game where so Ernie had played Metamorphosis Alpha for decades, and he had the same character that he played in this Metamorphosis Alpha game for decades in on this Warden scenario that Jim had been
Yeah.
running for since the 1970s. That was a game where Ernie's character and the whole group found the control room of the Warden, and Ernie had all these old notes he had from like years earlier, and he was able to figure out the code to let him control the Warden. So the
Oh,
game
damn.
ended with Ernie's character after 30 years finally, or 40 years after finally controlling the Warden. So yeah, Brian and Self were who went with Gary and them, and they had a blast. They got to play with Jim, and it, he's just he was just a great guy. He's a fun guy to play with. And yes, your character you're probably gonna die if you played this game. You just had to understand that, you know.
Right.
And I when I played with him, he frustrated me so much because first of all he was trying to goad me into doing things I wouldn't do. And then when you did stuff in Jim's game, you had to state exactly what you did. Exactly. Because he would take it at you're doing the dumbest thing. Like I one time I said, we went to this room. There's all these vats with something in it, like some creatures in there. I'm like, okay, whatever I do, Jim, I'm not touching any buttons, any levers, nothing. I am not going to let these things out of the vats. So I walk in the room. And he's like, "Oh, well, you walked on this one." I was like, "Whoa, you didn't say there was any panels on the ground." Like, "Oh yeah, well, you didn't say any. There was different colored panels here. So you walk on this panel. So roll your dice." I'm like, "You gotta be kidding me, dude." And so luckily I rolled good, and nothing came to life. There was clicking noises, but nothing
Right.
happened. But I'm like, I just said I was walking into the room. He said, "Well, next time you need to state exactly how you're walking into the room." Which I was like, dang it. Okay, I'm going back to be the medic and I'm going to wait behind. I'm not going in the rooms anymore. But that's just the way he was. Okay, so Gary said, I was the only person in history to get a second chance twice to change the decision I made in the game. He said, are you sure? I think he felt like I didn't understand the game well. Oh, I'd let it to kill me outright. Okay, so you push the button that's glowing and says don't push. Are you sure, Gary? So, oh man.
Perhaps.
So Mr. Gunn says, was MI supposed to be a con game? I don't know that I don't know enough of the history of the game to tell you that exactly. I don't know. I don't think so. I think it was his attempt at making a role playing game based on generation ships and science fiction, which he was a big fan of, huge fan of that. The story is he met Gary. I believe this is Jim Ward's story. They met Gary because they both went to the bookstore at the same time because they lived in the same area. Gary lived in Lake Geneva. Jim lived in Elkhorn, which is only 7 miles away.
Right.
I know 7 miles because I was riding up and saw the signs, Eric, as I rode up, as I drove up. But they went to the counter. They went to the counter. They both had the same books. They picked the same 5 books. Like Conan,
Interesting.
science fiction,
Right.
reliever. They're like, oh my gosh! And so that's when Gary said, "Hey, I'm creating this game." And for what I understand, Jim was the seventh employee for TSR. He was the seventh
Well,
hired employee.
I think I read a post from Ernie where Ernie said that he knew Jim initially as a high school teacher.
Maybe that, yeah, because he
Jim,
did. He was
so
a teacher. Yes.
he was one of Ernie's teachers, and then got a job at TSR. So that's pretty
Wow.
interesting.
But he had a long career there. Like I said, editor. I never heard anybody speak a bad word about him that worked at TSR. I mean, I don't know any behind the scenes stuff, but I talked to Zeb Cook and Steve Winter once about second edition. I said, well, what? Because you worked under Jim Ward. I said, did he give you any direction or say anything? I said, no. He just said, you guys know what you're doing. Just just do this, and because by that time they'd had the surveys come in, right?
Right.
Remember the surveys in the Dragon magazine that said, "What would you like to see in second edition?" So they had these surveys, and so they were really, Zeb and Steve were really kind of looking at the surveys like, okay, well, this is everybody wants. But Jim was apparently a pretty hands off guy. He just wanted them to keep certain schedules, like, okay, this needs to be done by this time, this needs to be done this time. But he didn't meddle at all. He did not meddle and say, no, you can't do this, you should do this. I think his big contribution to second edition might have been the renaming of devils and demons to Bayatsu and Tanari or whatever, because what was it called? What do you call it? There's a
Oh,
name called the
the mother rule or something like
yeah
that.
the
The
angry
angry
mother
mother rule.
syndrome. Yeah, the angry mother syndrome or rule, and that's the if you didn't have devils and demons in the party or in the game, then
Or
maybe people would
assassins,
stop.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about assassins got taken out too. But yeah, his thing was, why are we making these things that are going to make moms angry? Let's take these out of the game. And I think in a lot of ways, I know a lot of old schoolers, were maybe probably one of the guys downstairs, Bill Sylvie there, probably didn't like that because it was a big change from first edition. But it worked in the fact that no longer could they say here's a game that promotes demonology
Yeah.
and devils and assassins. Those things were gone, and I think that helped the popularity of second edition. A lot of people don't remember when second edition came out. It was oh dear, it
No,
was
is
very
that?
popular. What do we
Uh-oh.
got here? Oh, this is my lover. I mean, this is Skeeter Green, folks. For those of you who haven't seen him,
Peter!
Skeeter, do you have any Jim Ward stories you'd like to share that for the consumption of the general public?
I have a legitimately great Jim Ward story.
Sir.
Okay.
So
Okay, Skeeter's going to share his Jim Ward story. I shared
I
mine.
can't hear anybody, so I'm just going to do
Okay.
this.
Well,
Many years ago, when I was with Frog God Games,
Woohoo.
which I am back with Frog God Games,
Ba-ba-da-bum-bum.
Charles Wright, the layout hero of so many early
Chuck, yes,
Necromancer
our buddy Chuck, yeah.
and Frog God books, and I were having lunch at North Texas Convention, the one with the cool atrium, that hotel.
The first Marriott, the Marriott, yeah, the Marriott, nice. I love the
So
Marriott.
Chuck and I were having lunch, and Jim Ward happened to be walking by, and we invited him. Hey, Jim, would you come? Have lunch with us and chat and stuff. Never in a million years did we think he would do it, and he popped right into our booth and sat down with us, and we had some food, and we're just peppering him with questions, and totally gracious, being super nice about everything. And so Chuck and I finally just asked him, what's one bit of advice that you would give, new guys starting out? We're small time. And he goes, don't worry about your first product making $1 million. We're like, okay, that's cool. And he goes, oh, wait, mine did. And I was like, Jesus Christ, Jim, what are you doing? So he was really good natured, always kind of lighthearted, a font of information. But yeah, when he could get a zinger, he definitely zang.
Nice.
So it
Nice.
was
Very
I
typical.
love that one. So yeah, we were very stunned and sad to hear about that this weekend. So
Yes.
All right,
Anyway,
enough of that.
Mike's taking over
Yeah,
again.
you got your own show called GDZ. By the way,
Whoa,
what's the
that
status
show
of
doesn't
GDZ?
exist.
April 1st.
Wait a
Wait, they're coming
second.
back?
What?
April 1st.
April
Oh,
1st.
April
GDZ
Fool's
will be
Day.
back.
Bullshit.
The
I
Zach
call
and the
bullshit.
God and the Dammit
Bull-
will show up.
He says he
April
calls
1st.
Read,
bullshit. He's
read
calling
my
bullshit
lips.
Oh, whatever, Eric.
Bullshit.
You just are
He
fearful
said
of the
bullshit.
competition.
Wow. No, we're not scared of you
Oh.
guys. At all. At
You,
all.
you shouldn't have. We're actually going to have less people listening to us than we did before, and that was abysmal.
You got to rebuild your audience now.
We will.
We'll do you a solid. We'll talk about it. We'll mention you guys.
Yeah,
We'll do
you'll
you a
talk
solid.
about us, I'm sure of that.
After the show. We'll go,
Yeah.
yeah, that was pitiful. That was horrible.
All right, I'm going to come back later and take over for Mike.
Wow.
So
Oh.
you guys can have
The
somebody who
balls
does
on
this
this
right.
guy. All right. Love you, Skeeter.
All right, see you guys.
Later.
Thanks, Eric.
Yep. Give me my show
How do I
back.
get
Thank
out
you.
of here?
Give us our show
As
back.
Greg says, April 1st is when all the best stuff is launched.
Yes, GDZ will be back. You heard it here. Well, second. I know. I think he announced on his page a while back, but yes. So definitely tune in for that because those guys always have a great take on stuff. I have one more Jim Ward. I have another Jim Ward story. This happened at North Texas, I believe 3. This is the first one that Jim came to. My brother took he and I think Zeb Cook. No, not Zeb. It might have been Zeb. Zeb out to lunch. And maybe Frank too. I can't remember. Anyway, they went to lunch. Doug gave him some money in car. So yeah, take these guys to lunch. Then you go to lunch. So they all went to lunch at this restaurant. And so they're sitting there, and the guy comes up and he goes, "Hey, what are your shirts here? North Texas, is there a convention around here? The waiter, and they're going, yeah, the North Texas RPG Con. The guy's like, really? I need to go check that out. He goes, I used to play this game, and he starts talking. He starts describing Metamorphosis Alpha. He goes, I used to play this game, and you were on this spaceship, this. And then I think it was Zeb or somebody that said, yeah, that guy right there wrote it. And the
Oh.
kid's like, oh my god! And so, believe it or not, he showed up the next day to play in a Jim Ward game because he was so excited and blown away. He's like, "You've got to be kidding me!" It's like, no, that's Jim Ward. He's the guy that wrote that game that you're talking about. And so
Wow.
this guy went nuts, and I thought, okay, well, whatever. But then he shows up the next day, and goes, I met your brother and Jim Ward, and I want to play your game. It's like, oh, you're the guy. He goes, yeah, man, I want to play Jim Ward's game. So that was very cool. That was a great occasion for that fan just to accidentally meet his hero there at the restaurant they went to. But yeah, and so I guess we need to touch on something else too. So for those that know, Jim had diabetes. He died. He
Yeah.
basically died. When you have diabetes, you basically die from complications from diabetes. So the heart issues and the other issues, autoimmune system, all that stuff, that was all brought on by diabetes.
Well,
One thing,
it's brought on by diabetes that's not under control.
correct.
All right.
Right. I have type one
Right.
too. I'm a type one diabetic. I give myself insulin shots. I check my sugar, although my checker is downstairs. Great, that's helped me out a lot now. And I'm drinking whiskey right now, so that's good stuff. But anyway,
Whiskey's low carb.
yeah, a little bit, yeah. But so anyway, he was very upfront on his Facebook page, and to anybody he would talk to, that he screwed up. He used to eat a lot of ice cream, eat a lot of cakes, drink a lot of Dr. Pepper, not Diet Dr. Pepper, the real stuff, and he was not good about his shots. And so when he started having heart attacks, and then when he lost his toes, and he lost his foot, then he lost his leg, then he lost his other foot. I mean, it just progressed because you get gangrene, and it's just terrible. He went through a lot of really horrible hospital stays over the years. A lot of pain. There's a lot of pain involved because they have to do something where they call abrasion, which just sounds horrific. Where they have to, when you have gangrene, they take this wire metal brush and scrape off the dead skin. And what he said, it was excruciating. The pain's excruciating to them.
Now, Mike, I can tell you my own experience when I was 17 and I put my arm through a burning barrel because you're 17 and and I was going to break it up with a large stick, but my arm went through it. And long story short, if my mother tried to wash the wound out with dishwashing detergent,
Oh boy.
very painful. I get to the local hospital up in the Poconos, and they took out medicated Brillo pad because the rust was so you got to scrape out the wound.
God.
That was one of the most painful up until that point in my life was the most painful experience of my life. And then they have to open up the wound, pull it open, look in, and go, oh, there's still more rust. Scrape it out, and then they took out the tetanus needle.
Uh-huh.
That's when I fainted. I didn't faint from this. They took the needle out, and
Oh man.
it's like, oh my god! And they're waving in front of me, and next thing I know, I hear, who the fuck opened up the smelling salts? Because I was. Boop. So yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Jim had to go through that several times, Eric. I mean, what you did there. So imagine going through that,
Yep.
once a month or once every few months.
No. There's a
So
lot
so
of
he
no. Oh.
he was a lot of he's in a lot of he went through a lot of pain the last decade. What I was going to say is he posted on his Facebook page about his struggles, and he was a
Yes, he did.
cautionary tale. He would say, "Look, this is what happened to me. I don't want you has to happen to you." And since he's passed away, a lot of diabetics have come forward and said that they spoke with him. He would speak to them personally, and they would talk to him online. They talked to him in person, and he would give them advice and tell them like, "Look, here's what has happened to me. You do not want to have this. Check your sugars. Don't eat carbs. Don't eat sweets." And he was very good about saying, "I'm a cautionary tale. I screwed up. I'm in a lot of pain. I'm probably going to die because of this. You don't want this to happen to yourself." I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit emotional. Not too much though. I'm sorry about that. but he was very good about that, about saying that, this is something I did wrong. I don't want you to complete my or to continue what I did. And I thought that was really
Yep.
cool because a lot of people, we know people that are old and sick, Eric. A lot of us do, and a lot of
Yes.
them will deflect. They'll deflect and say, "Well, I've got bad genes," or I don't know how I got this. I just got sick, and it's not my fault, and and now I'm going through all this stuff, and life's unfair, and this sucks. And I have people that I know that do that. Jim was not that at all. He did not blame. He's like, nope, this is all my fault. This is absolutely my fault because my habits were terrible. And I thought that that was very brave and
Yes.
very good of him to do that. And he, if you look at his Facebook page, he told those stories a lot. He would almost always sign off with, just to let this is what I did. I drank a lot of Dr Pepper, I ate a lot of ice cream. I didn't take care of myself, and here's where I'm at. I've got one leg missing. I'm in the hospital all the time. I'm sick all the time, and I think that's a very very good way to deal with something like that is to say, look, don't end up like me.
Yeah.
There's too many people that deflect and say, this is not my fault, man. This is the world trying out to get me, and this is this and that. He didn't do that, and I thought that was an incredible service he provided by telling people that. And apparently, like I said, after his death, talking to people, apparently this is something that a lot of people took advantage of. He would talk to you online, or offline and say, if you said, look, here's what's going on with me, he would give suggestions. He would just give you an attaboy. He was just really good in that regard. And so I think that's a very important part of his legacy. The fact that he owned up to what he did to himself, and he did not want you to do that to yourself.
No, that's huge, actually. I mean, a lot of people can't. Trust me, a lot of people can't do it. A lot of people can't be self-reflective, and I really, and again, in retrospect, hindsight's always 2020, right? I would have loved to have had Jim on Gamers Health
Yeah.
discussing this. He would have been an amazing guest. Uh, Honestly, so this Saturday, Rachel and I plan on talking about diabetes and the
Oh, okay.
complications that can come from. It's appropriate.
Yes.
This is something that I'm sure. Listen, Jim probably didn't even know about the Gamers Health live streams, but if he did, I'm sure it's something that he would have been very much in favor of
Right.
people paying attention to, because once you lose your health, it's hard to get it back. It really is.
And then diabetes is a progressive disease. Once you have gangrene, it just continues. Once you lose, they say, once you lose your first toe, it's all over. It's very, very hard to arrest it there because you're losing your. What happens is you lose your extremities, lose feeling. It's called neuropathy. And I have minor neuropathy. I have some
Yep.
neuropathy. It's not terrible yet. They just remember last time I was in the endocrinologist, they did a test where they poke you with this little wire. Can you feel that? Can you feel that? Feel that? And they're like, yeah, you have moderate neuropathy. It's not terrible yet. But yeah, you want to prevent that first amputation. What happens is you get wounded down there. You don't know about it because you don't feel it, and then it gets infected and rots, and then you have next thing you know, you have gangrene. You're losing your toes. Then you lose your foot. Then you lose your leg up to your knee, and then it just progresses from there. Um, and I would say, as a diabetic, it has influenced me. The things that Jim would say, and how blunt he was, and just the terrible things that happened to him in the hospital. It affected me. I was like, I don't want to be in the hospital and have somebody abrading me with Brillo pads. That sounds
Yeah. Oh,
pretty.
no. No. No.
That sounds really terrible. I don't want to have gangrene. I don't want to lose my feet or whatever. So I took to heart a lot of the things he said. I like to think my behavior's better. I've always been okay, but I've been probably a lot better about keeping my sugars lower than they were, you know. And I think he is probably the person, one of the people that are behind that, because he had true stories that were really horrific.
So we have 30 live viewers. Thank you. For folks
Wow.
who are wondering where Mike is at GaryCon,
Yes.
Lake Geneva. He is in the now famous Frog God Villa.
Well, by the way,
So
Bill runs all his games here. This is great. He just has everybody come over here. They have this giant table downstairs. They just spread out because you saw I showed it earlier, and it's incredible. It's a great play. Why deal with all the trouble and mess and crowds, whatever, at the Geneva Grand? Just come to the Frog God Villa and run games. So it's been great for them. Like I said, I just got in tonight, so this is my first taste of the Frog God Villa. But it's really cool here. I think this is the way to go. I'm sharing a room with Steve Getty at the Geneva Grand, and gosh, now I'm kind of regretting not getting a place here at the at the villa. I mean, it's really nice. It's right across the street too. So yeah. So this is my first. This is my first one since 2019. I think we were both at 2019. That
yep.
was our last one, both of us. Yeah. And then of course COVID the next year. They had some really bad luck because if you remember correctly, Eric, 2020 is when COVID started taking off. I went to a convention. I went to PAX South January, and it was just being talked about a little bit, but no big deal. By the time February rolled around, and with Gary Con in March, they had to cancel. I remember it was very contentious because they canceled like 2 weeks before Gary Con. It was very close to when they
I
were
mean,
supposed
I went to
to.
probably one of the last conventions that was held in 2020. I went to TotalCon.
Yep. That
And
was that was the last. I think that was the
yeah,
last big con
yeah,
that
and I
took
came
place.
down with my upper respiratory infection when I was there and wound up leaving a little early.
Oh my gosh, yeah,
Yeah, that kicked off my 2020 of
terrible
three
2020.
hospitalizations.
Yeah,
But
but yeah,
yeah,
they had that was rough, and so they tried to have it virtual. I mean, everything was last minute with that. So they had like a virtual con. Then the next year came around, and it wasn't a lot. It was a little better, but not enough to where because I think the county here said that you have to do this, this, and this, and so they canceled 2021, and they
mhm.
had another virtual Gary Con. So they didn't come back till it was 3 years later, to
Well,
20
2
to
years,
21.
two
No,
years.
2 years. I'm sorry. Yeah, 2 years later.
Yeah,
So there was no Gary Con for 2 years, and they came back, and yeah, it was a long walk in the wilderness. So there's some people that thought that they were not going to come back. That it's over because there was a lot of cons as we saw that never came back from COVID. They
yeah.
didn't have the money or the time, or a lot of them lost money in 2020, and they weren't able to. People are going to forget that about COVID. There was cons that just stopped. There was whole businesses related to con. I don't know if you remember, but tabletop events, the guy running it went broke, or he was about
Oh,
to go
that's
broke
right.
because
Yes.
because everybody canceled their events that year, which means they all got refunds on their tickets because tabletop events made money because every ticket sold they get like $2 or $3 from. Well, when 100 cons cancel and they all have to pay back their tickets, that money comes back out of your credit card or your account. And so I think they ended up having a save tabletop events online con or something, but they were able to save it, and then the guy sold it the next year. But yeah, it was really a bad time, 2020, when they had to cancel their con, and it sucked because we went every year. It was great. Now you would have been able to come because you were already sick then. But
Right.
I was looking forward to coming in 2020, and then last minute this all happened, and I was like, whoa! Thank goodness I didn't. I was going to go with the frogs again, and thank goodness I didn't buy my own stuff because that would have been awful.
Yeah. No. Joe was at a 4-day con that got shut down after day one.
Wow, I wonder which one that was. That one in Texas, Joe? I can't remember. Because yeah, there was quite. Now, for those of you who don't know this or remember, North Texas, we had our con that year. We had a 20. We have never missed a year. Very very few cons can say that. We did not miss a year because the hotel we were at was very reluctant to refund our money because Texas had a different policy in most states. The county that our hotel was in did not have a shutdown order. You were allowed to have events if you wore a mask, blah blah whatever. So the manager of the hotel informed us that, as far as he was concerned, the convention was ongoing. And so Doug and I talked about it. We ended up having a con for local people only. We didn't want anybody flying in. We told everybody, do not fly in, do not come in. We don't want you to get, especially the older guests. We
Right.
don't want them getting on a plane. And so we had about 70 people there, 75 people
Joe was
that
one
came to
of
the
them.
con. Yep, it was great, and we had a really fun time. There was a couple people that came. Levi Combs came in, which is awesome. He flew in. A couple people flew in that we told them not to fly in. They did anyway. They wanted to support us. But yeah, we actually had the con that year, and so we never missed a year. And there was a lot of people that didn't just miss 2020; they missed 2021 too, like Gary Con. So it was a weird time, man. It was really a crazy time. But I'm interested to see what the con looks like after 5 years, Eric, because I've heard a lot of stuff about how this has changed. The vendor room is in a totally different spot. Um, I'm interested. I'm interested to see. I want to see what's going on. They have the auction tables now. Where I'm sorry, auction the autograph table. Where now
Right.
everybody
I
has an
saw
hour
that.
scheduled. I think that's a great idea. You go there, you get your stuff signed
Yeah.
with that. So
Mike,
Gary
Mike,
says
Mike, your
we
numbers
had
were
a
up.
155 attendance and 83 at the hotel because that's right. We that year we had an online presence, which I think we should get back some year. But Gary and I are busy enough running the in-person con. We don't have time to set up the online con. But yes, 83 at the hotel, and so another 70 were online. And I think a lot of that 70 online just really they were saying, look, keep my money. I'll
Right.
show up online. We just don't want you guys to have problems. And and also for those who don't know, that was Doug's last convention. So I'm very glad we had the 2020 convention. 2021, a week or 2 weeks before the con, Doug was hospitalized and he would never make it to the con again. So 2020 was his last con. I'm very glad that we did that because that was his last chance to actually. He had a good time. He had a lot of fun. He was, his usual jovial self, and so that was good that we had him there. But yeah, it was a weird time for people, man. It was people aren't going to remember all the cons that were canceled and all the
No.
things that happened in 2020. And so I'm glad to see Gary Con's back, and they're bigger than ever. They had Founders and Legends last week, and that was more of a smaller, more intimate con where they had a lot of the old school people come and run games. It was expensive, but it was really cool because you got to hang out with these guys. I mean, and somebody that went there, the highest compliment they offered is they said it was a lot like North Texas. They said you went there,
It sounded
a
like it.
few there's only a few hundred people, and they said it was very much like North Texas. You just kind of hung out and had a great time. So I may have to find it in my time to go to Founders Legends next year because. I like that vibe. I like the smaller con vibe. Not that I don't I love Gamehole Con. Gamehole Con's great, but I'm gonna have to see this year if Gary Con's too crowded because there's a lot of people that are gonna be here this year. I mean they've maxed out. They sold out all their tickets, everything is done. I mean there's not even spectator tickets anymore. Everything's gone. All the rooms are gone. Every room within
Well, the rooms are
a,
gone
t-
within like
a 10
minutes.
mile. Oh yeah, and we're not just talking the Grand. Like everywhere, every hotel in town. I mean, I'm sure there's people driving in from Milwaukee or Medicine because they couldn't even find a hotel, or maybe Janesville. Everything is taken, and so I'm interested in seeing how Gary Con's going to deal with that. Deal with the fact that we're maxed out now. This is it. So it should be interesting. It'll be fun. But yeah, and so I'm going to talk to a lot of people. I'm sure a lot of people here there's a lot of people here that were very good friends with Jim Ward, like Ernie and Zeb, and a lot of people have talked about him. They've been very emotional, about the Chris Clark, all his buddies at Eldritch Enterprises, Tim Kask. He was a big part of TSR history and the whole, our gaming history. I mean, and Eric and I tell you guys this over and over again. Get to cons
Yes.
and see these guys and say hi to them and talk to them because we knew Jim was sick for a long time, and this day was somewhat inevitable. But look what happened to Janelle. Janelle, we didn't think Janelle was not gonna be at 2024. I mean,
Yeah.
we look forward to seeing her and Becky every year. So that it's shocking. And every day I look at something. I just got the Dark Tower giant box set by Goodman in, and my one regret now is I can't have Janelle sign it. That's one thing that I'd really, look forward to having Janelle sign the box set. So
Wow.
when you have a chance to see these guys, see them. They're not going to be here that much longer. It's just a fact of life. I'm not being morbid, but these guys are in their
No.
60s or older. I'm 61, and they're all at least, Yeah, I mean, Jim was 71. They're all about 10 years older than me. Even now, some of the young ones weren't. I mean, Janelle wasn't. Janelle, I believe, was 59 or 58, 59. But these guys are in their 60s now. They're or at the
Or older,
youngest.
70s. Some of them are
Yeah,
in their
most of them are
80s.
70s. Yes, don't miss a chance to see these guys. Oh
Oh,
dear, what
there's
do
an
we have?
appearance by Zach.
Oh, it's
And
another GDC. Oh, and Ty and Zach. Hello, guys. Come here to screw my show up.
So tell Eric I said hi.
Hi, Eric.
Well, you can hear me. You just can't hear him.
It's fine.
Because look at these cool headphones.
Everybody's asked about Eric being here, and he's not here. I've had more people ask about him than I have in years of him not being around.
It's sad, really.
Wow.
It's deeply wounding.
No one cares I'm here. They don't want to see Eric.
That's why I came.
Anyway,
I mean,
we'll
Nobody
let you
just
go.
set up the
We'll
Frog
watch
God
the
booth.
show.
What can I tell you?
Yeah, he needs to come set up the Frog God booth, doesn't he? 'Cause
No, I thought
he did a
I
great
missed
job.
that
with it.
today a lot. He's the best.
Oh, yeah.
He's a merchandising genius.
That's why they miss you, Eric. They don't miss you because they want to see you. They miss you because you didn't set the booth up. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. All right, I'm gonna go pee in his suitcase. Oh, there it is, right there. Yeah, Janelle. So Janelle had not done a logo for us until since the 10th anniversary, when she did one with the other 10 or 15 people we had do logos, and she told Gary this year that she'd love to do a logo again. And so James Shields doing our logo, and then we said, well, Janelle, you can do a special logo also. And so yeah, we didn't get that. That sucks. And anyway, just when you see these guys, tell them how much they mean to you. Tell them
Yep.
how much fun you had playing their games. They love to hear this stuff. They really do. I've talked to enough of these people, Eric. They love to hear you say that. They never get tired of people saying that. That I played this game and I did this and that. I mean, I talked to Mike Carr a few years ago at Gary Con about running B1 and my love for B1 and how many times I've run in Search of the Unknown and this and that. And he was he goes, well, tell me about this and that, because I told him I have different scenarios. I have 5 or 6 different versions of B1 I run.
Right.
And I let the players choose, and he's like, "That is an interesting idea." I don't know if he's blowing smoke up my ass or not. I don't care. He's Mike Carr, and he's like, "That is a really interesting idea. Tell me more about this." And so I told him the whole reasoning behind it. And he just thought that was great. So they love to hear this stuff. Always
Right.
these guys, tell them how much they mean to you, how much their games meant to you when you were younger, and how cool it is to see them now. I guarantee you, they are a receptive audience to stuff like that.
Definitely. I try not to have regret. I'm not a person that goes around getting people signing, except for my player's handbook. But I mean, I cherish the moments that I get to spend with the old guard, and that's what they are. They're the old guard.
Absolutely.
They're the founders of our hobby. They are the ones that, if it wasn't for them, this community wouldn't exist.
No.
And we owe them so much, and they should know it. That's
Yes.
honestly how I feel, and that's the way I look at it. So
Yeah, and I started, the first couple of North Texas, I kicked myself. I didn't get anything signed because I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then I started saying, you know what? I've got an incredible opportunity here. I just want these guys to sign my stuff. And so I would bring up a whole, like, here's everything Janelle wrote, and I'd have to sign everything. I brought Errol Otis a stack one time, Eric, that was like this big. And I said, can I have 15 minutes of your time? And so we just sat at a table kind of off the main thing, and he talked to people and walked up as he was signing one after another, because I still find stuff I don't have signed by Errol, by these guys. And so they're not going to be around forever, and unlike Jim, was sick for a long, long time. Some of these guys are just not going to be there one day.
Yeah.
Steve Perrin, very nice guy, great guy. RuneQuest, helped create RuneQuest and helped create a Stormbringer for Chaosium. He showed up. He was at our 2018 convention, 2019, 2020 was canceled. He really wanted to fly in. We said, no, Steve, we do not want you to fly in because, all the stuff going on. 2021, his wife was sick. He wasn't able to come because of that. He passed away that summer.
wow.
And so we never saw Steve again. We saw him in 2019 with everybody else, and he was a great guy. Lots of great stories about playing Stormbringer and RuneQuest, and he would run, Stormbringer. Who runs Stormbringer and RuneQuest at cons? Nobody. So we really missed him. Missed Steve Perrin was, he was a huge loss to the gaming community because all that history of that classic Chasm stuff was all lost with him when he left. When he passed
Yeah.
away. Hey, Greg's here. Greg in the house. Greg Gillespie. I know Greg had Jim. He had contact with Jim. He had Jim write the forward to Highfell, I believe. So I know Greg had contact with him, and yeah, it's just a huge loss to the community. But the couple things, if we can take anything from it, it's number one, live by his example. If you're sick and you have diabetes, take care of it.
Yes.
Don't f around. Do not screw around with this, because Jim used to tell me when I was back in my 50s, and because he knew I had diabetes, he said, Mike, I didn't get sick till I was 61 because I felt great till I was 61 years old. That's when everything started happening to me. And guess what? I turned 61 this year. So I was like, oh man, maybe my body's going to start falling apart now. But I have endeavored to treat myself better than Jim did. And so hopefully
Good.
I'll do better. And for everybody else out there that has diabetes, please take your shots, check your blood sugar, see an endocrinologist, not just a GP. GPs are okay, but you need to go to an endocrinologist. They specialize in things like that. Watch your carb intake. Exercise. All the things you already know these things. But look at the example of Jim's life and what happened to him, and just tell yourself, I don't want that to happen to me. I don't want that to be me.
Yeah, you only have one life to live.
Absolutely.
Try to make it a healthy one and a long one. All right, but we're all gamers, right? I always say
Hey,
we are gamers. We know odds, right? When we're coming into an encounter, we always want to stack the odds in our favor. We're going to
right.
do tactics. We're going to go in this way. We're going to do that way. How do I get a bonus to my attack roll? How do I get a bonus to my saving throw? We all figure this shit out.
Mm-hmm.
Yet we don't bother doing that in real life. We kind of put the blinders on in real life. But
Yeah, it'll be okay. Yeah, it'll be fine.
I don't need, if I don't pay attention to it, it's not going to hurt me. But you worry about your character as a piece of paper, right? Well, put as much effort at least into
Sure.
your own health as you do in protecting that piece of paper. Wow,
Absolutely.
that's it. That's heavy.
Well, we don't usually get that heavy, but we've had two really terrible deaths in 2024,
Yeah.
Jamel and Jim, and this sucks. And these guys are getting older. This is going to happen more and more with the old guard. This is going to more and more. We're going to wake up one day and somebody's going to have passed away. It's just a fact of life. It sucks, and we're all that same generation. But the great thing now is, people are living longer. They're able to have better medical care. If you take care of yourself, you'll be able to
Yes.
do that. So
You know.
anyway, so thanks to Jim for the games and the joy he brought us. And
Yes.
I'm just very happy I was able to meet him and interact with him, and I have some great Jim stories now to tell some young gamer 10, 20 years from now, if I'm still around, about Jim Ward, if they want to know who Jim Ward was. And so that's what we can do is spread the word about him, and make sure their stories live on.
Definitely. Definitely. I mean, like Mike says, we are, generally speaking, if you're watching this, you're a little bit younger than our Praetorian guards, right? The ones that founded this hobby, the ones that are up in front that we look at in awe. Well, they are still human. They are still fragile. Their time, as everybody else's time, is limited. Make the most of it. Try to find them. You know.
So that we will move on from that. There's something else I want to talk about tonight, and because this ties into gaming stupid, which everybody loves when we do gaming stupid, and we love it too. But also, I was very pleasantly surprised to see this podcast up, which is by Ben Riggs, who wrote Slaying the Dragon. Really interesting. It's so he's kind of a historian, but he's not quite like John Peterson does a different kind of historian thing than Ben Riggs does. But it's really interesting. They cover different areas. Let's put it that way. They cover different stuff. So,
Right.
he has a podcast on iHeartRadio, and I saw an advertisement for it. Said, "Hey, Ben has been doing." So Ben does a show where he and Scott, I think is his buddy's name. They read pages from the Dungeon Master's Guide every week. They've been doing it for like 2 or 3 years now. They're only on page 40, by the way. So
gee.
they do like a page a show. I mean, they read a page from the Dungeon Master's Guide. They talk about it. It's interesting. Get a chance, check it out. But I saw that he was doing something on. Hey, we talked to a lot of people that used to work at TSR. And about the truth of the last 10 years TSR. So it was this really clickbaity title, like, I usually don't fall for the clickbait because who's the dungeon chick that does all the clickbait stuff that we laugh at? It's hilarious because it's like, WotC is over, it's done, it's finished.
Is this the Irish one?
Ah, yes, the Irish lass.
The Irish lass. Rach loves her.
They're great.
Dragons and Discourse or whatever the heck.
Yes.
Yeah.
WotC's finished. The YouTube scandal is destroyed. It's always something like that. Then you watch it. It's not really that bad. You're like, wait a second. I got clickbaited. So the title of this was kind of clickbaity, but I checked it out. I loved it. I listened to it twice because the reason is because my ego was so stroked because Ben has come to the exact same conclusions that Eric and I have when it comes to what's going on at WotC. And Eric and I did it with virtually no confirmation. We just put point A with point B. Ben has actually talked to these people. So he said his next book is probably going to be on the last 10 years of WotC, which would cover 5th edition. Because he's getting so much good information from these people that were fired in November, December. And he said he's talked to Ray Winninger. He's supposed to talk to Mike Merles. He's going to talk to a lot of people, and they are giving him major dirt on what is going on in WotC and what has happened in the last 10 years. And so I was hooked when I'm listening to it because they start off on this tangent. They end up talking about. They're supposed to talk about the DMG. They didn't even talk about that. They talked.
No,
about
they didn't. Once they got derailed. Just like this channel.
Very much like us.
Poof.
Ben and Scott are our analogs now. They're much more successful. They're probably much better looking. They have probably much better, everything is better. They're doing a lot better. But we have come to the exact same conclusions because Ben brings up a point that Eric and I talk about all the time. He talks about the head of WotC now. Cynthia Williams, I believe her name is.
Yes, a great last name, by the way.
She is a Amazon import because Chris Cox, who was head of WotC, has moved up the ladder and become head of Hasbro. Promoted, so you got Cynthia Williams in there. So she is an Amazon chick. Chick sounds so terrible. She's an Amazon.
She's an Amazon woman. Oh my God!
Amazon woman.
Now it gets a whole different conjecture.
So, oh dear.
She's Wonder Woman.
Anyway, she brought in. So all these people that are fired, their positions were all filled. Which, by the way, these are the people that created the most successful RPG in history with its 5th edition. These people were created. They created that. Oh, thank you. Bacon.
In case Chris.
Bacon
and chips.
Oh wait. Did your wife send bacon?
Did my wife tell me to make this, or did you just do it? Oh, she just wanted to do it. Oh, so crispy. So crispy. Thank you so much. Well, now I can't talk anymore. I've got bacon to eat. Anyway, so all the people who were let go, who, by the way, created 5th edition, the most successful game of all time, were just kind of, we're out of here. They brought in Amazon employees to fill the things. And what Eric and I said for the last few months, you're listening, is that there is nobody with a history of gaming in charge of WotC anymore. And we've been saying this for weeks. And Ben Riggs, bless his soul, has confirmed that. This is a company now run by people who don't know gaming. They don't understand RPGs. They have no clue what they're doing. They're used to running Amazon, which is not an RPG company.
Right.
They have no clue what they're doing. They have no clue.
And they're getting some Microsoft people in too, for mostly on the programming side, on the I don't say video game side, on the VTT, the virtual side. That side is a lot of Microsoft executives coming in. and the people calling the shots now are no longer gamers
Right.
or even gamer adjacent. They are pretty much how would they're suits, and as Atron says, suits are are a species of evil outsider with no sense of loyalty or attachment to anything except money. That's what the brand
Monetize.
is.
That's why they want to monetize this. They think it's under monetized. As Ben said, talking to unnamed sources, they don't understand gaming. They don't understand us. That's why they tried to cancel the OGL. They were trying to control the software. So the world they come from, if you own the source software. So like if Bethesda owns Skyrim, so I can't come up with a Skyrim game because I have to go to Bethesda first and ask their permission and pay rights, this and that. Almost all games are like that. You cannot create your own Super Mario Brothers game or like your own Witcher game. These
Right.
are owned by people, so they own the source code. So you have to come to them. It's an evergreen possible. I mean, Skyrim has been. They just had a 10th anniversary edition. It's evergreen. They keep redoing the edition every year, every year, every year. They can license it however they want. The problem with D&D is they don't understand this. Is because of the OGL, they don't own the source code anymore. We own the source code because we
Well,
own the
they
rule book.
understand it. They tried to. That's why they tried to revoke it, folks.
Right. And they said,
They
"Oh,
understand it. They wanted to revoke it, and then we're going to take greater control, and we want to share your profits. And if you're not making enough that we're going to take your money away from you, we want to know what's selling and what's not. Basically, we want your market. We want you to do our market research for free, so we can focus on this shit even better than we're doing now. So, oh god, yeah,
Do you remember how oppressive the initial offering was? We're going to take away Ocho. Remember how terrible it was? Remember that if you did a Kickstarter, they went to Kickstarter. Kickstarter, okay, whatever you say, Watsy. They told them that if there is a D&D project run, everything after $750,000, we want a percentage of. Remember that? They
right.
told them that.
And by the way, folks,
Oh, and they owned your product. Remember,
right.
they owned the
Well,
rights to your product.
they own, yeah, they could do whatever they wanted. They could republish your work. That's fine. But not only that, it was like, well, if you're a preferred partner, we'll take a lesser percentage. So they were trying to sweeten a shitty deal by by here. I'm gonna. If you're offended, forgive me. You know what? If you don't like this raw deal we're giving you, we'll give you some lube. That's what it came down to. That's what it came down to. You know, either way, you
You're
were
right.
gonna
You're
get
right.
fucked. You're gonna get fucked.
It's just going to be better with a little lube, though.
Ah,
But
Mike,
imagine,
you didn't see that coming, Mike, did you? You did.
I did. It made me
Oh,
laugh. But imagine you're Kelsey Dion and you do Shadow Dark, and it makes 1.3 million. And not only do you have to give Watsy a percentage of everything you made over $750,000, they could 6 months later come out with Shadow Dark, the new improved version. Here's the new improved version of Shadow Dark because that's part of the deal now is that we can come up with our own version. Oh, by the way, Kelsey, you're not part of this version. It would say created by Kelsey Dion on it. It would say that, but guess who's making all the profits? Not Kelsey. They are, and so that's the deal they wanted to shove down our throat. That's the deal they wanted to shove down the creative's throats.
and here's something that people have to realize. All right, when you make money on Kickstarter, all right, if you say you make $1 million in sales on Kickstarter, well, that money that you made on Kickstarter has to pay credit card fees. Oh shit, credit card fees. I got to pay that. Oh, it's got to pay fees to Kickstarter. Oh shit, I got to pay that. And $1 million, you probably got backer kit. Oh shit, I got to pay backer kit. Oh wait, I actually have to publish this stuff, physical products. Oh shit, I got to pay that.
Are you going to ship it?
Oh shit, I got to pay that. Oh wait, there's taxes. There's taxes. So for Watsy to come in and say we're taking 20 or 25% off the top of whatever you earn over 750 million is telling companies top your Kickstarter at 750. That's really what it was saying.
And
Because if
look at
you
all.
sold more than that, could potentially lose money.
Dolman Wood last year made 1.3 million. What was the one that Wolfgang had? That made over. I mean, these are all made over the amount that they would have had to pay. So this is all that Hasbro could think of. So, and as Theatus says, or whoever said it,
No.
I'm sorry, Zetron said it. The community said, we've got this shit free for 20 years. We are not paying for it now, and it was awesome. They got hammered so bad they backed the s off. I mean, they were just like, oh, because once again, as Ben says, and from the interviews he's done, they don't understand the market at all. They don't know what we're doing. They don't know what RPGs are. They don't understand how they work. They don't know video games. They're like, well, it must be like video games, right? Or like
Right,
board
games are
kinda,
games, right? Yeah,
yeah.
it has games in the title.
They don't understand what it is. The whole point of role playing games is a community and getting together and doing social activities. They don't understand how they probably were blown away how fast it organized and how quick
Oh.
it turned into a shitstorm for them. Because it turned into a shitstorm within what, a week? I mean, it was nasty.
Listen, the coverage of it, once that OGL leaked, okay, and it wasn't just me covering it in the OSR, although I will say my coverage I thought was pretty good, and certainly the numbers show that. But there were a lot of people covering it. The difference is that Mike and I had insights. We both know publishers. You know that you're spot on with your observations when people like Eric Mona reach out to you on PM and tell you, please uh, take it back. As you might screw things up if you keep on being as focused as you are. That's because Mike and I and some others have good connections and we have good insights. All right. I guess.
You had you had everybody from the pundit to
Oh yeah.
Jenny D. I mean, it was like it was like everybody came together that didn't even like each other, came together and
For a
said, this
common
is wrong.
cause. The
Yeah,
enemy of my enemy is my friend, and the
absolutely. Yes.
enemy of all of us at that time was WotC. WotC was telling everyone from the consumer to small third-party publishers to large third-party publishers to essentially say, "Hey, it's our ball. I know we gave you this ball, but no, 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 it's our ball. We are rewriting the rules to this game. But wait, we're already in the middle of it. We've been playing this game for 20 years. No, 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 no. Don't worry. We're gonna rewrite it and you'll like it. You'll
And remember,
like it.
they tried to
Kendall.
weasel word it. They tried to weasel word the whole irrevocable thing. Well, irrevocable is the wrong word to use. That means they tried to weasel it out. I mean, because
Yeah.
they as Ben says, and then they wanted to own the source code, and they didn't know how to go about it because they don't understand how games work. Is that all you need is the rule book, and you never have to buy anything for once again. Which, by the way, I would recommend never buying anything for once again. I'm going to tell you right now, absolutely don't buy their stuff. Yeah, support the OSR, support small independent publishers, support Paizo. I'm not even a big Paizo fan. Support smaller companies that don't do the crappy business the way the crappy business people at WotC do their business, who, by the way, are no longer gamers anymore. They are all suits. They're Microsoft employees.
Yeah.
They're Amazon employees. They are here to monetize. They're going to microtransaction this thing to shit. They're going to abandon published books. I guarantee you, they don't.
Oh,
They don't see any advantage in published books.
But my Chris Cox plays in a near weekly D&D game that he runs using AI to make it a better game.
Whatever.
Hey, by the
Whatever.
way, and Dino, that is a great quote, and I do remember when they put that one out.
Oh my
Gretchen,
God.
you're going to hear
We all
people
won.
say
We all won.
they won,
We
and
won.
we lost.
all won.
Because
Hey, guess
making their
what?
voices heard forced
Here's a winner. No, the Texas Rangers won the World Series. It wasn't like, well, they played the Diamondbacks and they both kind of won because they had a good time. No,
Yeah.
the Rangers won the World Series. Guess what? The OGL gamers won that.
Yeah.
Watsy did not win that. I'm sorry, Watsy lost.
We won also because wait a second, we didn't get what we wanted. We couldn't fuck you over. Oh, and we alienated our audience and our
We all
consumers.
won. We're
But
all winners.
we won because wait a second, we had to put it into the Creative Commons. Oh, but we won. We won. Hey, I told you, we write the rules. We won. Go.
Anyway, so I'm gonna recommend. I don't know a lot. I'd love to meet Ben at the convention if I could. He probably doesn't care about meeting me, but I'd love to meet him because I'd like to tell him that this was a spot on. And we don't recommend other podcasts or much. I'd recommend listening to this one because it's spot on about
I
what
linked
Eric
it
and I have
above,
been
by the way,
saying.
folks. It's in
Yeah,
the
the
chat.
links.
I linked it.
It's absolutely spot on what we've been saying for the past few months. This is headed for disaster because you have a bunch of people who are captaining this ship that don't know how to captain this ship, and they have no clue what's going on. And apparently, Ben's going to have some really juicy info on his Discord. Now you have to join his Patreon to do the Discord, but apparently he's going to start previewing stuff. And I guarantee you, I'd love to hear what Mike Merles said. I'll try to talk to Mike Merles at the con too. I'd love to hear what Mike Merles is going to say.
Ooh.
A lot of these guys that have got laid off, they don't want anything to do with Watts anymore. They don't care about what bridges they're burning. They're gone. They're out. I would love to hear what they're going to say about what's going on because I think it's going to parallel a lot of things that we talk about and that we think that would happen there, which was people that don't have a. Look, the first clue, Eric, was when they said we want to monetize this brand. It's not monetized correctly. We're like, what?
Well, D&D is $1 billion property. It's $1 billion IP. We should be
Is it
making
really?
$1 billion off it.
Is it? But is it really? And that's we were saying like, yeah, this sounds real weird. And they fired Ray Winninger, and they started replacing
Ray
people.
was the first. Here's the thing with Ray, and I don't personally know Ray. Never met the guy. I do remember his work. I guess at Mayfair Games back in the day. So I think his name was on Underground, like the DCC Heroes, like evil version
Right.
of like. So, but Ray, who did for a while there, was doing a very good job speaking or spouting the company line, got to the point where he could no longer speak the company line.
Right.
And that says a lot. And when he no longer was going to, and again, I'm gonna.
I'd like to know
I
if
think he pushed back.
If he saw that. I wonder if he saw where this was going early on.
I think
and
he
said,
did.
Whoa!
I think
this
you have to read
no.
between the lines of his social media posts from when he got fired or resigned, and
whatever.
it seems like there was a difference of opinion in the direction of the game. And Ray is somebody who spent his career in the publishing industry in gaming. He understood
RPGs.
how
Yes, very much
RPGs work. Get rid of him, bring somebody in from the outside.
Bring an Amazon employee in or an Amazon executive. And these Amazon people, look, here's the problem with the Amazon people is that they won the lottery, which was COVID. COVID lottery is, hey, guess what? We're going to shut down every business that can help you except for Amazon. You can order whatever you like from Amazon. Now we're shutting down your neighborhood bodega and the grocery store down here, the supermarket and the fast food place. But Amazon is lot. So because of this, Amazon, you know, what is it? What's the saying? Is that they find themselves on third base and thought they hit a triple? No, all they did was take advantage of the fact that COVID made them the winner. COVID picked a winner, and that was them. The government picked them and said, you can stay open because people need stuff, but everybody else has to close down. That's not being kick-ass and innovative and I'm so smart. Jeff Bezos is not the richest man in the universe because he's the smartest man. No.
Amazon was losing money for ages. It was a great company if you wanted to be a consumer. But now, suddenly, the same company that used to be able to find deals at, everything is more expensive.
Oh my
and
God.
if you want to go shopping elsewhere,
not same day shipping, not even next day shipping. It's 3 or 4 days. I mean, everything's changed, so it's all for the worst with Amazon.
there's commercials on your Prime Video now too.
Oh, great. That's
You
right. There
know,
is.
unless you want to pay extra.
There is. That's right. We watched Prime the other day. We're watching the freaking commercials in the middle of it. We're like, oh, jeez. I mean, everything now. But if you paid for Prime Plus or whatever, Eric, they took
Right.
away
It's
those
like
commercials. Yeah.
only an extra $5 a month. And here's
Yeah.
the. I'll be honest with you, and this is getting a little off topic. I could probably. I pay for YouTube Premium to not get commercials on my YouTube.
Uh,
I could probably do away with every other on-demand service and just stick with YouTube, and it would cover 99% of my TV viewing. Honestly,
I look. I've cut it down to Prime and Netflix. That's it. Got rid of everything else because I just you can't afford it. You can't afford all these different services anymore. That's it.
no.
I don't. No Paramount, no Hulu, no whatever else. I can't do it. Can't afford it. Sorry. So these people who like I said, found themselves on third base and thought they hit a triple, now think, oh, we're just going to roll into, as Ben Riggs said, we're going to roll into D&D and make $1 billion. I mean,
$1 billion.
what's so hard about this? Yeah, what's so hard about this? We can do this. It's just games. I mean, we know what game. You know what a game is, right? I think I know what a game is. Yeah, we know what games are. Let's go do this. And they were woefully unprepared for what happened. And so now this is all retrenching. And of course, because of this, the 50th year is kind of a bummer. Because look, what month is it now? Oh, it's March. It's March 20th. Have we had any 50th anniversary or anything yet? No, nothing.
From Loxy?
Yeah.
Oh yes,
What
we
have they
have.
done?
No. They did the video that talked about how evil original D&D was, how it would not be published today and pass the DEI
Oh,
review. And we are putting out a book that will show you this. And if we could have, we would have gone in and changed the original Dungeons and Dragons to be more appropriate for today's realities and today's expectations. But it's a historical piece. So we couldn't do that. But I'm sure we will give you a trigger warning before you read our
and
$99
by the way,
book.
this is why. So as I think his buddy Scott said, this is why the TSRs or WotC's more racist than ever because they don't know what they're doing. They have no clue, and that's why there's all these warnings and this and that. This is why this has happened the last couple of years because these people are coming in and they're used to doing business in a different kind of marketplace, and they don't understand the backlash that when you tell gamers you're racist pigs because we know that you think orcs are black people, which nobody does. That's why they come in and say these things because they don't know. They have no clue what the community's like, what the culture's like. They don't even know how to play the game. They don't know that you roll 3 6-sided die to get an ability. They don't know these things because they don't think they need to know them. All they know is this is something that can be monetized and it's something we can do VTT for, and we're going to make $1 billion. They don't have a freaking clue, and I'm glad that Ben had this video, and he's basically, like I said, without video, I'm sorry, it's a podcast, but basically this is what Eric and I have been saying for months. These are people in charge, and it's been confirmed by the people who've gotten fired there that have no clue what's going on. And for the first time in its history, WotC is being run by people who have no clue how games work, or how RPGs work. Let's put it that way.
Zatran makes a very good point. It's funny to me that they think old D&D was not inclusive. Read the description of Corellin Lorathian in the Deities and Demigods book and tell me TSR had a problem with that kind of thing.
Corellian was binary sex or no sex? I can't remember. There was some I don't remember now.
Yeah, I just remember I do remember reading it going as a kid going.
Was Corellin a man sometimes and a woman?
Sometimes, yeah. I think that I yeah. If someone looks at Orc and D&D and sees black people, I submit that they are the problem. Yeah.
Well, that's the point. Is I think Ben brought that up too, or his buddy, is that suddenly why did things get more racist with these people that are supposedly trying to stop racism? Why is it more racist now? Well, it is because these people, they don't know what they're doing, and they're just keep sticking their foot in their mouth and keep saying stupid things that they don't even know what it means, but they've just talked to a consulting group that said, oh, by the way, you need to, these old people, that you need to have a trigger warning because these old people wrote the game 40 years ago. Now you could continue to use the stuff they wrote, and you could continue to rape the corpse of the Giant series, forever and ever. But
Right.
don't give them any credit for writing it. Now you could keep making Tomb of Horrors, the 15th version of Tomb of Horrors, whatever. But don't make sure these guys get no credit for it. That's the kind of person you have in charge now. Is those kind of people are in charge of the game you used to love, which by the way doesn't exist anymore. It's gone. The death of, we can say the death of D&D 2023, right? We can put the headstone, 1972 to 2023. Almost made it 50 years, not quite,
Almost.
because
It's gonna
it's
be a
dead now.
co-op.
It's dead. It's dead.
It's a revenant. It's a revenant. Damn it.
Yeah, 2023 was the last year we actually really saw, and even then it was right on its last legs. So it's gone now. If you want to play D&D, you need to support Shadow Dark, you need to support OSE, you need to support Dragon Slayer, you need to support Swords of Wizardry. All these other games have the heart of D&D. This is what D&D was supposed to be, what D&D was meant to be. The new thing, whatever corpse that WotC's animating right now has nothing to do with the classic game we love, and the game, by the way, that made billions of dollars and was doing just fine before the
Got to
Amazon,
do more,
Microsoft rolled
Michael.
in.
It's got to do more. By the way, the reason why we couldn't figure out Corellian is because it was all that and above. Could shift male to female, be both, or neither. So that's why we couldn't remember.
It was everything. All right.
It was everything. Flint, welcome.
But anyway, so that's the issue here is like I said, I'm always happy when somebody as big time as Ben agrees with me without even knowing who I am. I feel like we're justified and we're vindicated, Eric, because we've been saying this for months, and to have Ben say that and like, oh yeah, I've been talking to WotC people and they say this, like, yes, that's what we've been saying. I said this is being a company run by bozos, and that's why they end up on this week in gaming stupid week after week after week, and they even point out just all the times they've shot themselves in the foot the past year or so. How they just cannot get out of their own way, and everything they do is a disaster. They just can't stop. Absolutely clowning themselves.
It's greed. Okay, and the thing is, it's greed. It's that need to hit that $1 billion post and not do it as a ramp up. They want to be able to say, we got to do it now. Get out there. And by the way, folks, if you've ever worked in a corporate situation, you know exactly the mindset that we're talking about. You're only as good as your last quarter.
Sure.
So, and if this was your baby and suddenly there's a bad quarter, you can go. So Cynthia is not guaranteed. And do you think that Chris Cox isn't getting scared at the direction Hasbro is going in? They got to talk the talk, but their ability to walk the walk isn't necessarily there. And we've already seen the attempts at Hasbro for third-party rabble-rousers to come in and try to change the leadership, change the board. And usually the people that are trying to do it have a little bit more of an insight into the hobby than the people that are currently in power.
One of the points that Ben made, which is a good point too, is that the people who created 5th edition, which is the most popular version of D&D ever, whether you like it or not, is the most popular version ever done, and made more money than any other version of D&D. The people that created that are all gone. That they booted them all out. So these people were suddenly so smart as to be able to create a game that was the most successful in history, yet none of them are there anymore. They're all there, and the knowledge that they used to create that game is, we don't care. You don't know what we're doing now. We're doing something different now. We're not doing what you want to do now. And that is the issue, is that these, like I said, once again, our thoughts were confirmed that these people have no clue what they're doing, and unlike my buddy Zach Glazer here, they don't know how to run a company, because Zach knows how to run a company. Games.
I'm just here checking, make sure, because Wisconsin has Pornhub access, as we weren't doing.
Pornhub access?
Yeah,
we're going to have to cut this show short. No, I'm just kidding.
You don't have that in Texas anymore.
Whoa, hey. We don't.
Do you want something to eat? I'll bring it up to you.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
We're going to be through in 20 minutes.
Okay. Well, then it's on there. I just want you to
We'll be through in 20 minutes. Thank you for the bacon.
Making bacon.
Oh,
yeah.
the bacon was so good, Eric. It was so good. I love bacon. It was so wonderful. I got off topic. I was thinking about bacon. Okay,
okay.
Jen's taking off her clothes. This is really disturbing, and can't really concentrate on the. Oh, no, she put it back on. Good job. Thanks.
Like that was damn quick. It was
You're
all
distracting.
screen.
You're just still distracting me. She's. I don't. I'm not. Jen, stop. Put your shirt on. God.
Hey,
Yeah. This is not that kind of show.
we're a
It's not that-
kid-friendly show. No, we're
Yeah,
not.
we're not. We're absolutely not kid friendly. We're the opposite of kid friendly. There she is. We're not kid friendly. Can I have some Diet Coke?
Yeah.
Thank you, sweetie.
And a top.
Golly, this is much better than my house.
Maker's Mark.
And a little Maker's Mark in there. Oh my God, this is the
Oh.
best trip ever.
God
Eric,
damn.
she brought me bacon. Now she's making me a mixed drink. Holy crap! I'm coming to Gary Con. Thanks, Luke. Gary Con's awesome. I love Gary Con.
Oh no,
we already he's
know,
demonetized.
yeah.
He's already demonetized.
Listen, the moment I go live, it's demonetized. Gamers Health gets demonetized because we talk about God help us, health issues get demonetized because I'm not a medical professional. These live streams, and you know what? We have fun doing this. We enjoy the banter with our community. They're not profitable. They're not. By the way, here you want to help the live stream? There's a link in the bottom of the screen. If you haven't gone there yet, tankars-tavern.game/WFRP. It'll take you to Humble Bundle. There's a Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay bundle up there for the latest 4th edition Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay game. If you don't know about it, it's from Cubicle 7, by the way, under license. They have updated the entire Enemy Within campaign to 4E. I ran that back in one.
Great,
oh
by
my
the way,
God.
one of the best RPG campaigns of any system of
Yes.
all time. Incredible.
So they have all 5 parts. Now, to tell you how much of a fan I am of this campaign, when they offered a subscription to get the physical books, I pre-ordered for like, I don't know, $500. I was like, that's it. Well, you can get it all in PDF and then some, including the starter set and the rule book and other adventures for $25. So that's a
Wow.
great way to support this
You cannot
channel
beat it.
and
No.
get an amazing. I want to run it, but I don't know if I want to run it under Warhammer. I want to know if I can like run it under like
I
OSD
always
or-
thought about that.
or
I was thinking
Dragon
about. I remember reading it the first time I read it. I wanted to run it under D&D because I was like, I don't play Warhammer. I love to run it, but it is just so deep and so. I mean, everything. It's just got politics in it. It's got great scenarios, monsters. It's really good. So yes, if you get a chance, go. If you've never read it before, you're in for a treat.
Oh my God!
It's an absolutely incredible adventure, and that it has a beginning, it has a middle, and it has an awesome conclusion. It's a kind of adventure that that everybody looks forward is like, wow, that was one of the coolest things. I remember when I ran one of the other best RPG adventures of all time is Master Nyarlathotep for Call of Cthulhu. Best role playing experience I ever had in my life was running that for a group.
I say what my general opinion of Warhammer 4E. Warhammer First Edition and Second Edition were very close. Second Edition was, I believe, Green Ronin published Second Edition. Warhammer Third Edition was that box set with the fucking fucked up funky dice. Third Edition, turn a blind eye to it. The books don't hold up, and the rules were. It is to Warhammer what D&D 4E was to D&D.
With 4, yes, very very good comparison there. Yeah,
So
avoid that.
skip
one.
that.
Avoid.
4E is actually pretty good. I'm sorry if you think Bob 4E D&D sucks. Yes, but Warhammer 4E harkens back to editions 1 and 2. It feels very similar, but I haven't.
By the way, a point that Ben brings up about 4, because I talk about the different editions of D&D, is that 4E, they were something you heard from the people that worked there. They were explicitly told to make a game like World of Warcraft, which I have always suspected, because it is so video gamey and computer gamey the way 4E is run. It's all basically battle scenarios. and that was a mistake because that's why 4E is never run at conventions. Nobody ever talks about it. It's because it's specifically not like any other version of D&D. It's a war game. It's a war game with maybe role playing elements, but not really.
Right.
And it's more of a computer game, video game than anything. It was made to emulate a computer game, which in 5E they went back to their roots and said, "Look, we want people that played the old versions because 3E was made in specific response to I think 1 and 2E, and it's not compatible. 3E is not compatible with 1 and 2E." Whereas 5E was like, no, we're going to make these older, we're going to make this compatible with older versions of the game, and it is. It's very easy to convert 5E stuff to any other version of the game. So that's why it was the most successful version, and that's why, they made more money from that for anything. Why WotC wants to kill the golden goose, I have no idea. But as Eric said, when you work for corporations, you have to justify your existence. And one of my friends, the best quote of all, I'm sure this quote's used a lot of people, is he worked at a radio station. He said, "Oh, we got some more consultants coming this week." I was like, "Consultants?" He's like, "Yeah. You know what we say about consultants in the radio industry, don't you?" You go, "No. They're like pigeons. They come in, they shit all over everything, and they fly away. And then we have to deal with all the cleanup afterwards." And that's like these guys. They're going to come in. They're like, "We got to make our mark in the RPG world. We got to make our mark. We're going to be the people that are more successful than 5E. We're going to do that, And that's what these people are thinking in their head. We're going to make $1 billion. We're going to finally monetize this game that hasn't been monetized correctly. And so far, it doesn't look good, Eric. I don't know what they have planned for the VTT world or for the 50th anniversary, but they are not getting the kind of traction I think they wanted.
It's a $1 billion plan, Mike. It's a $1 billion plan.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, heads will roll, man. That's the whole thing. You gotta listen. Part of the corporate mindset is you gotta promise, right? You gotta promise, and after you promise, you gotta try to hit those marks. And it doesn't matter who gets sacrificed at the altar of.
Well, Eric, you and I both worked in the corporate world for times, and,
Yep.
and one of the things we always dreaded was when the new owner or the new boss bought the company. Oh my God. The last job I had as a customer service rep for a drug company, one of the big reasons I quit after 15 years was for the umpteenth time we got resold, and they come in there and they have a big meeting where we're going to change everything. Yo, I've heard it all before. They gave me, the same thing. We're going to start doing this. We're going to start doing this. And I said, you know what? I was thinking to myself, I'm not doing this shit anymore. I don't want to do this shit where they say they're going to make all these changes and nothing ever works, and then they go back to the old way because the old way was the right way to do it, yet they have to make their mark. And I want to show, the head of the corporation that I know what I'm doing. Sure. So I give my boss my notice and I'm out. But Mike, we wanted you to help with the reorganization. No. I'm through. 6 months later, they changed back to the old style again. Like I knew they would because all the new innovations didn't work. Nothing worked. And that's what happens to these companies. It's the same mindset. We're going to go in and we're going to make our mark. We're going to change everything. I worked for a record company once, or a music company once, Eric. And we got new management. And we're talking like, this is like, remember the stores in the mall? This is Record Bar. I don't know if you remember Record Bar. We had mall stores. All their stores were mall stores. There wasn't any freestanding stores. I worked there for about 5 years on and off. I was full-time for a while, part-time. I just liked working at a music store. It was fun. I love music. And we got sold one time to an owner who came out with a sheet that said, as of Monday, everybody must wear a suit and tie and have their hair cut, no long hair, no blah, blah. And we were like, you have got to be... It was by people who didn't understand the music business. Yeah. We had a manager there. This guy was like a hunk. He looked like Jason Momoa. Long, flowing hair. The ladies loved him. We must have got thousands of dollars of business every month just because people come in there and just sigh over.
He's so dreamy.
He quit the next day. And he worked there for 9 years because he's like, I'm not going to cut my hair. They'll, nope. Corporate demands you now cut your hair and you wear a suit and tie. He's like, Quit, walked across the mall to the store across there, said I need a job, hired him on the spot. I'm like, what the fuck are these people thinking? So they got so much backlash that after like 3 days they said, okay, no suit and tie, because it turned out none of their employees owned suit and ties. Okay,
Oh,
I
I'm
might have been the only
sure.
person in my store that owned a suit and tie. Nobody owned suit and ties back in the '90s, or kids did that worked in music stores. After 6 months, guess what? They rescinded the stupid haircut policy because
Nice.
they lost so much talent, like talented managers and assistant managers and employees. They lost so much, and we never got that business back. All the
Right.
business that went across the mall in music land never came back to us. That's what people who don't understand the business, when they buy in, this is what they do. They destroy brands. They don't improve brands. And then they'll either sell, what they try to do is they'll try to pump it up because they want to resell it. They'll resell it a few years later. You know what? I am absolutely convinced that at some point they're going to try to piece off Watsy. I
You
think.
know,
I think Hasbro may sell it. Now they're going to want to keep Magic, right? They want to keep Magic. They want to keep Pokemon. I think. I think they'd be happy selling D&D for whatever. As long as it made them a lot of money. Now the one thing they might not do it for, the one reason they might not do it is because of branding and marketing. No matter what you do, they still have the D&D name. They made a movie,
right.
I mean, not a successful movie, but a good movie. They have branding. People know what Dungeons and Dragons is. Critical Role, Stranger Things, Big Bang Theory. People know what Dungeons and Dragons is now, so that'd be the one reason they might not sell it. But I don't know, man. I could see a future where they would sell off the D&D arm of
I was
WotC.
up to Dino says they will license D&D. They would pretty
Yeah,
much.
that would be
Like,
good.
we're talking Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, right? It's no longer published by Games Workshop. It's
Absolutely, yep.
licensed out.
It's licensed out, yeah.
So
I mean, a lot of these games. Traveler's licensed. A lot of these games are licensed out now. Where they're different. I mean, Mongoose was publishing Traveler for a while. C. Jackson Games published it, and that's what will probably happen. You're probably right. They'll license it out at some point, but it's not going to ever be the game. It will never again be the game that we grew up playing, that we loved. And I'm not talking about just the rule set. I'm talking about the spirit of the game. It's like I said, it's dead. It died in 2023. It's gone. If you keep looking at WotC, oh WotC, please publish Greyhawk because I love Greyhawk. Oh WotC, please bring back Ed Greenwood because I love Ed Greenwood. Oh WotC, please reprint the first edition. No, they're gone. They're dead. It's over. Move on. Go to the OSR. By the way, still running and playing the games that we love, the same style we love, the same people that we all are. Go play the OSR. And go play an OSR game and have a great time and don't worry anymore about what WotC does. Because what WotC does has no particular connection to the game anymore. It has no impact on what we play. It has no meaning anymore. It doesn't matter. If tomorrow they come, what's the dumbest thing they could do? I don't know. Tomorrow they come out and say, there's no more elves because we think elves are oppressive to Scandinavian people. So we're going to eliminate elves from the game. It shouldn't impact your game at all anymore, what WotC says. It should have zero impact on your game. You should just look at it and do like Eric and I do and point and laugh. Ha, ha, ha.
they did it again.
We're going to eliminate gnomes because gnomes have big noses, and we think that is offensive to Jewish people because Jewish people traditionally, when there's a big nosed bad guy, that's a Jewish person. Go, no more gnomes. Gnomes are gone. And by the way, dwarves are gone too because they're short, and we think that's oppressive to short people. No, just laugh, ha ha, and just go ahead and play your game with your gnomes and drow and dark elves and whatever you want to do. Don't care about what they do anymore. You can't. It's gone.
Words
it's
of wisdom.
sad. It's sad that it's gone, but it's gone. Move on. We're gonna have to move on. We're just gonna have to say whatever.
Well,
I know.
Mikey,
Dragonlance was gonna
yes.
was Joe Manganiello had. I thought. I don't. He had a plan for Dragonlance.
Now,
We don't care.
now remember, Mike, there may be an announcement at GaryCon this year. Yeah, although I'm hearing it may have hit the shitter. So if it hits either way,
we had a leak. I had a leak, and we had a leak that what that announcement might be. I mean, it's cool for
It
whoever's
doesn't.
involved,
Yeah,
but it's not going to move the needle, folks. That
no.
announcement will absolutely not move the needle. I'm happy for the people involved in this announcement. It's the one
If
we
it
think it is.
happens, I spoke to somebody else who did a little bit more digging,
Oh,
and it may have shit the bed. So
oh,
I don't know. I don't know.
ouch. Okay.
I did a little talking. The Whisper Network at TotalCon.
Well, that
So
Whisper
we shall
Network.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but
Well,
if it does get announced and it does happen, please let me know so I can make sure I
I'm
get
gonna
a
try to pick
copy.
up as much. I'm gonna try to pick up gossip like a hound dog picks up fleas this weekend. So
Ooh, God damn it, Mike! And people
yes,
complain about my my
I tried to get more down home with
similes.
that one. Yes, thank you, Adina. By the way, spread the word. So spread the word. It's not just us anymore. Spread the word. If somebody wants to start playing, hey, I'd love to start playing D&D. Okay, there's something called the OSR, but I want to play their new version 5e. There's a version called Shadow Dark. It's awesome. You need to play Shadow Dark.
Yep.
Do not purchase WotC products. Do not tell people to purchase WotC products. Do not talk up WotC products. Move on. WotC, just like I said, it's not there. It doesn't exist anymore. Just keep going on.
Adino, Whitman dropped in earlier on in the
Yeah,
cast.
he dropped in to say hi. You could have asked him how that. You could have asked
And
him
what
how that
happened
is.
to it? Mrs. O'Leary's cow. It started a fire in the barn, and it destroyed. Close, close. All right. Well, I don't want to keep Mike away from his party
Oh my
time
god! Oh my
excellent
god!
food.
They're partying down there, man. I hear them. They are partying down there. They are loud. I'm surprised. I don't know if you can hear it here or not, but man, they are really
When the
loud down
door
there. So
opens up, you can hear it.
yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna let Mike continue with his Gary Con experience.
Thank you guys. Well, I mean, like I said, if you get a chance, Ben Riggs' podcast, it's worth a listen. I listened to it twice on the way up here because I was so I was hurt myself, pat myself on the back because I said that. Yeah, I've been saying that. Oh, I said that too. Oh, I said that too.
Wait, did I say that? Yes, I
You,
did.
and Eric said it too. Oh, Eric said it too. Eric said it too. Pat him on the head too.
Uh, Perkins, you're very welcome for the live stream.
Thank you.
If you happen to just stumbled on this, Mike and I
Please
do this every
subscribe.
one.
Please subscribe. Yeah,
Yeah,
please
we do this
subscribe.
every Wednesday night. Well, if they're commenting, they're subscribed. I know that.
Yes.
There's Friday night live streams also. Mike sometimes pops in on those. And Saturday nights are Gamers Health with me and my wife Rach. We're going to address diabetes this week, and I'll do some research. But it's something that's near and dear to my heart, literally my heart, because one of the complications can be heart complications,
Oh wow.
which you got to be on top of.
Yes.
So, Joe, completely platonically right back at you.
Yeah, thanks guys for a very lively live stream. We appreciate your comments and insights. So thank you very much.
Wait a second.
We're so,
We're
we're so
player
PC.
character. We're player
Oh,
characters, Mike. We're player characters. That's what he means.
okay. We're so
I know it can't. I know it can't
we're
have
so
anything to do
PC.
with correctness because
Yeah,
I'm
we're the
never
most
correct.
NPC ever. Yeah.
Oh,
But yeah,
God.
thanks very much. Good to see everybody, and I will try to pick up as many interesting Gary Con stories as I can to share next week in the show. So.
And remember, Mike is at Gary Con. So if you see him at Gary Con, buy
Please
him
say
a drink.
hi. Yeah.
Buy him a
Oh
drink.
yes, buy me a drink. Yes.
Buy Mike a
And
drink.
yes, no, say hi.
You,
Definitely say hi.
you loosen him up with
Say
the.
say hi and introduce yourself. I love meeting people,
Yes.
and definitely say hi and introduce yourself. I would love it.
All right, folks. Other than that, be safe, be well. God bless. Roll the dice, roll them well. Next live stream will be on Friday night. Saturday night again is Gamers Health. These live streams are always at 8 o'clock. And
I'd like to say that, and by the way, thank you, Jim Ward, for all the enjoyment and fun and gaming you gave us for
yes.
the many decades you were here. We really appreciate it.
All right. God bless. Be good. Catch you later.
Mm-hmm.